Browns make the decision to fire Kevin Stefanski here on Monday, the day after they beat the Bengals on a last-second field goal. So Kevin Stefanski out, Andrew Berry still in. Mary Kay, we heard from Jimmy Haslam today. We did hear from Andrew Berry today. It has been a busy day here in Berea, so I'm sure your head is spinning. Our heads are spinning. What is sort of running through your mind right now about everything that's happened today with the Kevin Stefanski firing?
Well, first of all, I thought Kevin Stefanski was a really great head football coach, and I think that he really just didn't get a chance to work with a quarterback consistently over a period of time that he felt he could win with and really build on that. Now, maybe Shedeur will turn into something. Maybe he'll be the quarterback of the future. Kevin Stefanski and this staff sure kind of had him going in the right direction, but Kevin just never had anything other than quarterback turmoil. So that's my reigning thought about him. And then my head is spinning forward to who is going to be the next head coach of the Cleveland Browns. We know that Jim Schwartz has earned some consideration. Maybe they'll interview Tommy Rees. And then I'm working on a list of a whole host of other candidates that can come through here. The search started today. It will be comprehensive, and they will be open-minded about it.
Yeah, Ashley, and as you were listening today to Jimmy, to Andrew, what were you thinking about sort of their explanation as to why they decided to move on from Kevin?
Yeah, I feel like the explanations were paradoxes today in a lot of ways, especially in a few key reasons here. And that was the decision to stick with Andrew Berry while letting go Kevin Stefanski, because obviously those two have been tied at the hip since they both got here in 2020. And Andrew Berry himself talked about the limited roster that they had to work with, especially on the offensive side of the ball, that they need to devote a lot of resources to the offensive side of the ball this offseason. So doesn't make it easy on your offensive head coach when you're saying that. And also the fact that they sure sound like they're looking for somebody who sounds a lot like Kevin Stefanski, who obviously we already know reports are leaking out that it sounds like he's set to potentially interview with the Titans, the Giants, the Falcons. He's already one of the hottest names on the coaching market. The Browns need somebody who's a good leader, who can help work their offense, and it sounds a lot like the guy they just let out the door.
So, Mary Kay, let's spend a little more time on the fact that they did decide to keep Andrew Berry around. And Andrew today, I thought really probably more than he has been with us in the past, kind of was a little more open about sort of where he views this roster. He made it clear that he thinks that they're going to invest a lot of their assets this offseason on the offense, and obviously still searching for a quarterback. That's a pretty big asset they're going to have to invest there. But on the offensive side of the ball, he did use the word rebuild a few times and sort of tried to frame that and define what that meant. This was essentially a vote of confidence from the Haslams that they believe Andrew Berry can continue to build this roster and continue to turn this thing in the right direction.
Well, Jimmy Haslam gave Andrew Berry a mandate at the NFL annual meetings in March where he said, you've got to knock this draft right out of the park. And he did that. He had a good offseason, and he had a really, really good draft. They will send Carson Schlesinger off to the NFL honors where he'll get NFL Defensive Rookie of the Year. Quinshawn, before the injury, he was doing a great job. You've got Harold Fannin. So the rookie class really is very, very good. And he made the trade where now he still has a first-round pick. It's not going to turn out to be a very high first-round pick because the Jaguars just kept winning and winning and winning. So it's not going to be as good as they hoped it would be, but still, he really did nail this draft. And I think that saved his job. And because of they laid the foundation, as I say quite often, for Super Bowl window 2. They laid the foundation this year. Next year, they'll put the I don't know what you do next. They'll put the wood floor down next year. But they will have most of the rest of their roster set next year. And what they really need is the quarterback. And they are counting on Andrew to get the quarterback right, and he has to do that. I hope that's what Jimmy Haslam says to us this year, and that is Andrew has to get the quarterback right because that's what's got to happen. And he knows that's what has to happen next because if they don't have that, they don't have everything or anything. And I think Kevin Stefanski found that out.
Yeah, that window, they're hoping it's not some drafty, rickety window that's going to slam shut every time you try to open it. Ashley, I found it interesting that Andrew, there's something to be said about the fact that Andrew kind of admitted the offense was incomplete. They were really going to focus on it this offseason, and the move today was to fire the offensive head coach. I think that tells me something, at least, about how they felt about Kevin's ability to continue to develop the young talent on this roster.
Yeah, and Andrew basically said that without saying it, right? That in terms of they didn't see the progress that they wanted to. And now I think the fact that you only win 8 games in 2 years certainly wasn't working in Kevin Stefanski's favor, but you have to wonder about the part that's unsaid, but unsaid there, to your point, Dan. And I mean, too, I also thought it was interesting to Mary Kay's larger point about keeping Andrew Berry and the job he did with this draft class. I think when Jimmy Haslam talked, he talked about that, obviously. He also brought up recent moves by Andrew Berry. So he brought up the Malik Collins signing. He brought up the Tyson Campbell trade. He brought up the draft day trade. He brought up them finding a kicker, at least they think right now, in Andre Schmidt. But the interesting thing about all of that to me is all very recent things. So like Mary Kay said, I think Andrew Berry saved his job over the course of the last year, but those are all moves that you look at, and a year from now, I'm curious how we're all going to be talking about them. So that's the problem with recency bias to me, is it can change and very quickly flip the other way.
Yeah, he's still in a position where he needs to nail another draft. I'm sure Jimmy Haslam might say that again too, Mary Kay, when we talk to him again. So let's talk about one more thing here, and that, of course, is Shedeur Sanders and his future here. He did speak today on Locker Cleanout Day, and as they go through this process, hiring a new head coach, whether it's somebody internal, whether it's somebody on the outside, they need to be aligned on the quarterback. If Andrew Berry has any amount of belief in Shedeur Sanders, whoever they hire has to have some level of belief in Shedeur Sanders. What did you come away today, Mary Kay, feeling about where this organization stands on Shedeur?
Well, I think they're going to be open-minded about their quarterback search, and I think they're going to let that new head coach come in here, whether it's Jim Schwartz or someone else, and let the head coach have a large say in who the quarterback is. And I think that's vitally important, because what you really want to find is that magic combo of the head coach and the quarterback. Now, it could also be the head coach is kind of overseeing that, and your play caller and your quarterback have that dynamic. But that's the whole key, is that they've got to get that going. As far as Shedeur Sanders is concerned, Andrew Berry was given an opportunity today to give him a vote of confidence as their quarterback of the future, and he's not ready to do that. And I think that is very telling. They're not ready to say that yet. They are going to look at these quarterbacks in the draft, and they'll look at veteran quarterbacks as well. They've got Deshaun Watson waiting in the wings, but they're going to take a very, very global and comprehensive look at it all and let the head coach, the new head coach, have a big say, and I think that's important.
Yeah, and Andrew did confirm what you've been reporting for months, Mary Kay, that Deshaun Watson will be on the roster in 2026, barring something unforeseen happening. Ashley, I mean, it could just be a situation, I guess, with Shedeur where maybe they don't have the assets to replace him. Maybe they don't have what it's going to take to find the right guy to replace him. But it was interesting, again, that Andrew Berry didn't just come out and say, yeah, he's going to be our guy for next year.
Yeah, it was interesting, and especially because, we still have to see how this 2026 draft class is going to shake out. Really won't have a better picture with that. Teams won't even have a better picture in that until the end of the month. So they're in a tough spot, though, with kind of how we think this quarterback class is going to look, and they're picking six or seven?
They're sixth.
Okay, yes. Again, the late night drive from Cincinnati has totally fried my brain, coupled with this morning. So they're picking sixth. You might be kind of limited in that, and we know we haven't seen this regime trade up in the draft typically. It doesn't happen very often. So I'm fascinated to see where this all goes, but not only does Andrew Berry have to nail the draft, nail the quarterback, he also now has to help nail a head coaching hire.
Okay, we've got a lot going on, and we will cover it all at cleveland.com/Browns.